welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George is in for a treat today because he's going to watch Batman. Can somebody please tell me what kind of a world we live in where a man can be 32 years old and has never seen friggin' Batman?
It's crazy times.
Shoot.
I'm speechless.
I mean, I'm assuming here, George. George, have you seen Batman?
Do you know who he is?
Not the one that you guys assigned. I've seen I've seen Begins and Dark Knight and Rises. But I have not seen
So you've seen the
anything
Nolan
prior.
trilogy.
Yeah, I've seen the current ones and I think they're fantastic, but
By the way, those current ones are like 10 years old, and they've had 2 Batmans since then.
well, they suck.
Catch up. But anyway, so
It's like-
okay, so we're talking about making you watch Batman. Let's just be clear, there are a million of them. 89, Tim Burton, Batman 89. You've not seen this one,
No.
but you're familiar with the character?
The character Batman?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's your favorite Batman?
Like the actor?
No, the character. Are you a Bruce Wayne guy, Dick Grayson, maybe a Damian Wayne, or even a Thomas Wayne? Ooh, now that is one I hope to see coming up soon. Or Jean-Paul Valley. Are you a Jean-Paul Valley guy?
No, I don't know what
You
you're
look like a
talking
Jean-Paul Valley guy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, shoot.
We're going to assume that his favorite character would be Batman. Because
Oh,
I don't
God.
know if he knows any of the other ones.
Jeez Louise, guys. Okay, so George, are you aware that Batman has been a character for like 80 years?
80
pretty old.
years?
80 years.
No, but doesn't surprise me.
Do you know that they were making movies of this character during World War II?
No, I did not know that.
One of them is super racist.
That
Like, you
doesn't
can't
surprise
watch
me either.
You can't watch it with kids. Like the first moment of it's right from the jump. Like the opening line of the thing, you're just like, oh no. Like it's bad. But the costumes are lame, so that's fun. Have you seen the 60s Batman TV show on ABC, or maybe the movie they based on the TV show?
I have an idea. I've seen
Do you know how to do the bat dance?
Can you do the Batusi?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, what about the 70s era, like Neil Adams comics? Have you ever read those?
No, I'm not a big comic guy.
What? So I assume you haven't read Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
No, I haven't read anything.
Okay, you need to read that. That's important. Put that on your
Okay.
list. You probably ought to watch some of the 60s Batman too, if only for context of how awesome the 80s Batman was.
Okay.
Anything else we should make him look at before he watches, Travis?
I don't know. I would just have to say that if he has Nolan on the brain, he needs to take this Batman as a different Batman. That's all.
Sort of. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Sort of.
I don't want to have him compare the two because I believe that would not be fair.
To
In my
Nolan. What?
opinion. In many cases, yes.
Okay. So, if we say anything else, I am going to spoil this movie for George so hard and so frequently. So, let's just get
That's
to
so
it.
dirty.
Let's kick George right in the bat butt and get him out there watching some Batman. And we'll get him back here after he's done.
Okay, they are now seating in the theater there, George.
All right, let's do it.
Grab your popcorn. Get your popcorn ready.
Social distance. All right, we're back. George.
Yes, sir.
What'd you think, man?
It was terrible.
I'm
I'm just playing.
Good. Okay,
It
I
was-
didn't die yet.
It was good.
Started to die. Pulled out of it.
I just knew how excited you were, so I had to
Yes.
deflate you at least a
You
little
gotta
bit.
temper me a little bit, 'cause I love this movie.
I liked it. There was a couple things, just because it's an older movie, like some of the effects weren't so great. The bat plane, I guess, I don't know what you would call it.
The Batwing.
The Batwing.
The Batwing was I don't know what year did Star Wars come out, because they
77.
definitely did that better than the 89 Batman. like the ship and
what?
anyways,
What?
it didn't look good, but I get it. I can overlook that, and I can look past it.
I have a lot of issues with the Batwing, but not looking good, not one of those issues.
No, the thing actually looked dope, but when it was flying, it didn't look. Some of the scenes with the Batmobile looked really, really good. Like they really nailed the Batmobile, and I think it might just be because I was born in '88, so that was like the Batmobile that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they actually made it maneuver really, really well. And make it look like it's going really fast.
I think the Batwing kind of suffers from, and I at the time I thought it was awesome, but they did a lot of model work in this movie. A lot of
there's
set,
a lot
of the sets
miniature.
a lot of miniature sets. So they try when you film miniatures, just like when they film like a King Kong character, you have to do the movement right per frames, or they don't look menacing. They don't look big. They look small.
Right.
So with that plane, I don't think they were taking into consideration that it's going to look like a toy in a model scene.
That's why I'm saying, like, Star Wars, Lucas did the same thing in Star Wars with his planes, but they looked good to me.
Right.
I think a lot of it is they're flying against like a space background versus flying through a city.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get the scaling right. But again, love that plane, or as our good friend the Joker calls it, one of those things.
Why did they tell me he had one of those things?
Yeah. But I mean, there was a couple other things like I didn't think Joker's face looked great.
What?
But and also like when he electrocuted the guy in the boardroom.
When he roasts that poor guy.
Yeah, that's it's a little overdone. But like I said,
A little overdone.
I can.
Oh, so good.
No, but I can look.
You
past
are a vicious
those
bastard,
things.
Maroney.
The things that really struck me were the Joker's backstory. But first of all, like it's beautifully cast. That's knowing the Joker that I know was also beautifully cast, and like maybe my favorite character in any comic movie, Heath Ledger's Joker.
Oh,
Fantastic.
I thought you were talking about the guy from Suicide Squad.
Oh God,
with metal teeth. Not that Joker, but
No.
the good one. Okay.
Nah, he's a Ledger dude.
No, Heath Ledger was the best Joker ever, but Nicholson was fantastic, and I liked the backstory about like how he came to look like that with the bad plastic surgery, and it's like okay, that's why he's always smiling. That was like I don't know if that's from the comics or if that's new to this movie, but that was a good way to do it.
They took some liberties.
Okay.
Making this movie. They did not stick to full canon. They took many liberties.
I was also going to ask, I don't think it's in the comics either, but I mean, I don't know because I haven't read any, but I thought it was kind of corny that, Jack, when he was younger was the guy who killed
That was one
Batman's
of the liberties
parents.
they took.
Okay, I thought that was kind of corny.
Let's just jump in because you've brought up a lot of good points that we need to hit like whack-a-mole, just one at a time.
Okay.
So the Joker's backstory in this is ripped somewhat directly from a comic called The Killing Joke, written by Alan Moore of the Watchmen fame, like a top tier comic author of the 80s.
Yep.
And it's in the comic he's like a stand-up comedian who's doing side jobs for the mob and wearing a funny hat and gets knocked into acid, and the acid gets in his helmet, messes up his skin, drives him crazy, and now he's the Joker. In the comic, though, I don't remember him being tossed in the vat of acid as like a Rube Goldberg punishment for banging a mob boss's girlfriend.
Right.
But, I mean, however you get there.
Well,
that's one... You missed that when you're a kid. Like, I mean, they make it pretty darn obvious
yes.
that he's banging Jack Palance's girlfriend.
Yes.
But as a kid, you're just like, oh, she's got shopping bags.
And her face is a little scarred. Yeah, that Joe Chill is the character that kills Wayne, the Wayne family.
Mm-hmm.
So they get that right in the Nolan movies, but this movie, I guess that they figured it would help the story along if they have Jack Napier kill his family, make it more personal. A lot of people had a problem with that, but
They
even
did
back
it.
then,
They did it just for like one line,
yeah.
like or two.
Even if they would have had Joe Chill with Napier, and Napier said the line, and they still had Chill kill that family, then it would have been fine. Because then it would put Napier there, but then he's not the reason why Bruce Wayne becomes Batman.
Right. They couldn't have said those two lines back and forth.
Right.
You know, you made me, and
Well,
you
the
know,
whole
back and
point of
forth.
Batman is that he is Batman because of that event.
Yes.
And he is who he is because of that event. So he doesn't kill anybody. That's his code.
Yes.
I don't kill. In this movie, that kind of is pushed aside as well.
Yes.
I'm still not sure if he dropped him on purpose or not in that acid.
Yeah,
Or
they
that
do.
chemicals.
They leave that open to a lot of interpretation.
Yes, because Keaton's face kind of has the fuck it kind of, you know, I can't deal, and he drops him, and it's almost like, does he drop him or does he drop him?
I didn't interpret it as him doing it on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to go back
But-
and watch it though, especially in 4K because you can watch the acting a little better on the faces.
Yeah,
This 4K release has just changed my life, guys. I
Okay.
mean, it's just you see stuff you've never seen before, including like a better exchange of looks in that scene, where it
Yeah,
becomes
he
a lot
definitely
more
he makes
murky.
a look. Remember in Aliens, when we were watching Aliens, I was like, watch Sigourney Weaver's face when that egg opens up and she decides to just blow up everything. Like, she just has that head tilt. Like, no, I'm not leaving here until this is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
He kind of did the same kind of acting where, I don't know if Burton told him this or if it was his choice or whatever, but he made a face to where you're not really sure if he did that on purpose or not.
Right.
So, as a Batman, you know, completist or enthusiast and someone who's a fan of the comics, there's certain things that are separate Batman from the Punisher. And one of them is that he does not kill.
Yep.
So, you know, when he throws the henchman into the bell and he falls down the tower, like, all those things they're cool for the movie, but they don't really fit the character. It's much better when the cops show up and there's 19 guys hanging from the ceiling and they're all on cables. And
I agree.
so,
Yeah, not a huge fan of the 30 caliber machine guns on the Batmobile. That
Right.
seems like a pretty anti-personnel kind of, you know,
unless
I
he's
think-
using it to open doors.
blowing up an entire Axis chemical plant full of dudes. Like, is
Yeah.
this Star Wars? Like, are we just killing the Empire?
Right.
There's your Clerks callback, by the way. All those contractors that were just
All those
working,
contractors.
janitorial at the acid plant. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of dead people.
So that's a big thing. And if that's something that stuck out to you, then that's true. Like, a lot of people had a problem back then
It did.
with that.
It did.
It
What's
helps
funny-
the story, but
Travis, you bring up, if he had been like a henchman working with Joe Chill or whatever, and that, it'd still be changing the comics, but less so. If you ever watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is a cartoon movie, but is awesome.
phenomenal.
Joker is a mob henchman in the background at the beginning of the movie in the flashbacks. And so
Okay.
you get that, like, he's there, he's around, is kind of looking like the Joker, but, like, you don't really know oh, nope, that's the Joker. Like, they do that really well. It's like they get a do-over, kind of.
Yes. Well, I was waiting to see if George liked this movie before I suggest to him. What you need to do is get the animated series and watch it, because it's probably some of the best Batman, better than Nolan in some cases.
Agreed.
Some of the best Batman stories ever. There's like, 4 seasons? Plus the Mask of the Phantasm, and I think there was a couple other movies.
Well, and then Batman Beyond. I mean, if
But-
we're
yeah.
going, let's go all the way.
But the animated series, the Paul Dini stuff, is just ridiculous. It's so good.
Okay.
And it's a cartoon. But I remember coming home from high school and recording that shit
Okay.
on my VHS and watching them later. Like, they were just, and then finally they put them out. I went to Suncoast and bought the seasons on VHS.
Yeah.
I used to record them so I could watch them. They're phenomenal. And Mark Hamill is the Joker, the best Joker ever.
Okay.
Better than Nicholson, better than Ledger.
So one
Okay.
of the weirder things that comes out of this movie, to this point, there are periods in the comics where Batman kills, especially really early on, before he finds his moral compass.
Right.
But and before the comics code was like, hey, you can't be killing stuff in a kid book. Anyway, in the 90s, there is a period where another individual is Batman for a little while. And he's the Jean-Paul Valley that I alluded to earlier. And it's not important, really, to normal people, except in one comic, they decide to make him kill just to kind of gauge the response of the audience to see, like, it's the 90s. Does Batman kill now? Or should we stick to the old way? And resoundingly, the comics people were like, whoa, this ain't the early 40s anymore. We don't have our Batman kill. But the way he kills the guy is straight up dropping him in a vat of acid, not unlike this movie.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like the dialogue continues in the comics as to whether this was acceptable or not, or intentional or not.
I don't like it.
Dude, he gets shot in the face before he gets dropped. Like, ugh.
Well, again, is that the glass from the? Was it the ricochet or was it the glass from?
That's what I
from
thought too. I didn't
meter?
think he got shot in the face. I thought he got.
It's like shrapnel from something.
Yes.
It's obviously
definitely
not
shrapnel.
a direct shot,
Right.
but I mean, it looks like it goes in one cheek and out the other.
Yeah.
It could just be two simultaneous pieces of glass. There's enough there to get under the PG-13, rating.
Right.
But it's also an excellent excuse for the nerve damage that causes his smile. And so, yeah.
Well,
Heath
the back
Ledger's
alley
got
surgeon
nothing.
too helps that.
Yeah, well,
You go to
Well,
a back alley surgeon.
he was
you're
at
not
the he was at the back alley surgeon because his face was jacked up.
Yeah, and he's a criminal and he can't really go to the hospital.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning because for me,
guys.
What?
The opening scene, right?
Yes.
Before the movie even begins, the first character in the movie is a song. That's amazing. But then when the song is over and they cut to that Gotham City skyline, there's like a New York police car siren noise. And obviously they didn't like go to New York and record a car, right? That's canned, like, just you can pay to
Canned
license it, canned siren. They used the same one the year before in Maniac Cop. So if you're watching Maniac Cop and you've seen the Batman movie 1,000 times, you're going to hear the moment they use the exact same recording of a New York police car, and it'll bring you joy.
well, what's that Lucasfilm yell that's in everything? What do they call that?
The Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm scream. Yeah, that's in everything. I love finding that. We'll be watching like a Pixar movie. I'm like, there it is. There's the scream. So yeah, in the opening scene, like you're programmed to you think you're gonna watch an origin story, right? So you're and then they just jump right into it. Like he's already Batman.
Yeah.
It's already started. Like how were you excited about that you didn't have to sit through an origin story? Because I remember when I was watching it in the theater, I was like, oh, thank God, he's already Batman.
I didn't know what to expect. Was I glad that he was already Batman? I don't know. I mean,
you didn't have to sit through that hour of like backstory and like because you're so
I don't know.
used to
I
that.
enjoyed that hour. When Nolan did
Well,
it.
Nolan did. Yeah, because he
So-
did it totally different. He did it so true.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed the backstory, but was I surprised? No, not really. I didn't really think anything of it.
It just set the tone for me.
Did you get the parallel, George, when you were watching it the first time? Did you see like, oh God, this is just Bruce Wayne's origin story again? Kid, 2 parents, locked in an alley, mugger. Like, is that tripping your Batman alarms, or are you just thinking, oh, this is just the beginning of the movie?
Oh no, it was definitely tripping my alarms. Like I actually thought I was like, is this? I thought, is this the origin? And then when he was there, I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely not. I thought it might be the origin story happening, and
Right.
then Batman.
No,
was
they
there.
totally
They did that
it
on
right.
purpose,
Mhm.
and I realized they're, as I was supposed to, not until
So you see this
until you
shadow.
see Batman. Yeah.
The rotoscoped Batman at the top of the thing. That's amazing. It still looks cool, but it's like
It's
the more
so animated.
the more they enhance it, the more it's just clearly a rotoscoped cartoon Batman. And not even, it's like one, yeah, it's so much fun.
Fun fact on that scene, the "I'm Batman" line was improv. Apparently,
What?
Hmm.
the line was "I am the Knight."
That's
I
pretty
am
good.
the Knight, and Keaton pulled him to his face and said, "I'm Batman."
And eventually Kevin Conroy will take that, I am the Knight, and expand it to like
Right.
this whole little multi-part speech that I won't try to mimic, but holy moly. So George,
Well, that can be interpreted, two different ways.
What's that?
I am the night, like the darkness, when the sun goes down, the night,
Right.
or
Or I am the Knight, K-N,
The Knight,
IGHT,
like,
right?
because he is the Dark
Dark
Knight.
Knight. Right?
yeah, exactly. That's why it
So-
works, man.
Yeah.
Hey, George, thanks for explaining that to everybody. The George explain. Hey, did you have a chance to look at any of the 60s Batman stuff?
Yes. Travis let me borrow the 60s Batman movie, and I watched about half of it because I was pressed for time, and then I just switched right over to the 89.
Oh, you tried to fit them both in one night?
Well, I tried to watch the 60s one last night, and I fell asleep
Okay.
about like 20 minutes into it. So I watched more of it tonight before I popped this one in.
Gotcha.
Did you get to see the part where they climb up the side of a building and Mickey Rooney sticks his head out the window? Because it's like they did it on the show all the time, where they'd basically just be hunched over, walking
Turn the
from
camera.
right to left, and then whatever celebrity guest star would pop their head up out of the window, so it looked like they were leaning out.
right.
And they're walking just in tandem up one bat rope that's secured to the roof by a batarang. Did you happen to catch any of that?
Did you get to the shark repellent?
Yes.
Okay.
Shark
that's,
repellent bat spray.
That's all you needed to see was the shark repellent.
No, because I really want to press upon how important that show was to the movie we made you
Mhm.
watch. Because in '89, the only Batman that they'd seen in media since World War II was Adam West.
Yep.
In his tights, walking sideways across a building with the camera turned at a Dutch angle.
Right.
And so they start this movie out. You got rotoscoped Batman, dark enough you can't see his costume. And
Mhm.
like the very first thing you see him do is flare the best cape you've ever seen,
Mm-hmm.
and then throw the batarang from the 60s show and wrap that guy's ankle up. Like there's a direct connection to the 60s right there at the beginning. Just like, hey, this is familiar. Boom. Okay, you know what this is. And then they
Yes.
shoot Batman. You're just like, oh, this is not the 60s anymore.
Yeah, they shot him.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they kind of made him. For me, the cool thing about Batman is his ability to fight and his maneuver and using the shadows and all that stuff. They didn't really do a lot of that. They almost made him vulnerable on purpose. Like he was not so careful to not get shot. He wasn't so careful to not get taken down by anybody, but he made himself immortal by being shot and still getting up. It was almost like he made himself more of a lore,
Yeah.
more of a legend
Mm-hmm.
to be talked about. Like, I'm going to let myself get shot so I can stand up.
Yeah, he made a heck of a show of it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Those two guys. I mean, he didn't even like wrap them up for the cops to take away. Like, he basically just told them both to go tell their friends.
Yeah. Social media before there was social media.
Yeah, pretty much.
Retweet this motherfucker.
Retweet this mother.
He was at this point in the movie. He was just trying to get street cred.
Yeah.
He's
It's
just
true.
looking for follow backs.
That's funny. Well, let's
Oh
talk
my
about
goodness.
Keaton, because he basically, he was not the fan choice.
He didn't look like Bruce Wayne,
No.
or
Like,
at least not what I pictured.
well,
Bruce Wayne looking
he
like.
came from doing Beetlejuice and Mr. Mom,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a comedic actor and not built at all. And they just, when they picked him, everybody was just lost their shit. Kind of like they did with Ledger when they picked Ledger. People were like campaigning to get the license removed from their ability to make movies.
Mm.
But I think he did all right. He definitely brought a different aspect to the character. He didn't do the Christian Bale playboy,
Yeah.
in everybody's face and just flaunting it. He was more like a tortured soul. He was very,
Yes.
very recluse and very, very much an introvert. To me, I like that more. Even like he was obviously more comfortable as Batman than as Bruce Wayne. Like he was very uncomfortable as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And you could tell that was a clear choice that he made as an actor and Burton made as a director. He's clearly uncomfortable as Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
which was the opposite of what Bale did. Bale
Well,
seemed
but
to be more.
remember, Travis, Bale, when he is Batman, that's his real face.
Right.
And when he's Bruce Wayne, that's his mask. And if you didn't catch that, they'll explain it to you at the end of the movie.
I get that.
I love that movie, don't get me wrong. And I do prefer Katie Holmes' performance to most of what Maggie Gyllenhaal did in that role.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that movie another day.
Yeah, when we get there. So what was your take on Keaton, like, other than he wasn't...
I mean, it worked. It worked. It wasn't like I said, what I expected my Bruce Wayne to look like.
Right.
But I liked it. I like the fact that he's a tortured soul instead of a playboy. It's just it's a different take. It was okay.
My favorite part of his entire performance, there's two parts. They're like almost like completely diametrically opposed Bruce Waynes. You've got nervous Bruce Wayne in Vicky Vale's apartment, and she leaves the room, and he's mouthing to himself, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to build myself up. I kick men in the chest with my bat boots, but I'm afraid to tell the pretty lady that I like to wear bat boots. And I'm going to have to psych myself up. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Right?
Yeah,
I
that
love
was
that.
great.
But then I love and my kids think it's so stupid that I always like make them watch this part when we watch
You
this
wanna
movie
get
over and
nuts?
over again. But no. When they're in the Batcave and Vicky Vale has broken every cardinal rule and appeared in the
Yes.
Batcave, and he's like, I want to love you, and you're really hot, and like I want to make babies with you someday, but I gotta go to work.
I gotta go to work.
I gotta go to work. I love that line so much. I don't know why. But as a kid I didn't like it. But now as an adult I'm like, yeah, he's got to go to work. He's got to go kick Joker in the face.
Well, it's kind of like in Spider-Man where Mary Jane says, go get him, Tiger. Like, it's just she knows who he is and she knows what he has to do. So he's basically saying, yeah, I want to be with you, but I have to do this. It's not that I want to do it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
But the fact that that Alfred let her in the Batcave flipped me out because that's so.
It's kind of a no-no
yeah
in the Bat world.
And Alfred knows that. Damn
But,
it.
liberties. I mean, really, this movie's made to be a one-off. Like,
Right.
everything about this movie is resolution, including the thing where we always try to think of Batman as like the symbol of justice and not of vengeance. But in this movie, he's just out for vengeance. Like, he wasn't at first, but now he is. Like, vengeance is here, and he's tasting it, and it's
Well, that's
sweet.
the whole premise. Like, he even says when Joker's like, "You made me," he's like, "Well, I made you. You made me first," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
goes all the way back to his first decision to be Batman is based on his revenge against Napier, basically.
But you know, it's not like he spends the whole film directed at Napier so much. It's just like surprised that he's back again. I don't know. I have some trouble with that. But at the same time, like, who cares? Because this movie's awesome.
So, fun fact on the Bruce Wayne, you'll love this. Ray Liotta was supposed to play. He was offered 3 parts in this movie. Can you guess which 3 parts?
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta was offered 3 parts by Tim Burton.
Well, he wouldn't have needed any makeup as the Joker.
Yes, he was offered that. He was offered Batman.
For real?
And he was offered Harvey Dent, which he would have been phenomenal Two-Face.
Yeah.
He would have been a good Two-Face.
Very
but
good
I love
Two-Face.
Billy D, man.
So do I.
I'm annoyed that we never got Billy D as Two-Face until the Lego movie.
What's funny is you were saying this was made as a one-off, but Burton put him as Harvey Dent because he wanted to make him Two-Face.
What about Jack Palance, though, guys? Do we like Jack Palance in this room like I do, or am I alone?
I love Jack Palance.
Oh, my God.
Who are we talking about?
He was the mob boss that Jack stole his woman and then killed him.
Oh. Yeah.
Grisham, I think is his character name.
Carl Grissom.
Carl Grisham.
Boss Carl Grissom.
Should have been Maroney, which is another, or Falcone. He should have been Falcone, because Falcone is like a definite Batman mob villain,
Yeah.
and they didn't use Falcone.
But I don't know if Falcone was huge in the 80s. Like, I don't remember him in anything before, like, The Long Halloween.
No.
And that might just be, it's been a long time since I read the classics. But George, did you ever get a chance to read The Dark Knight Returns?
I never got him The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, Oh my goodness, that one is such an influence on this movie
But he
because
will
it
read it.
does. It's like a lot of the '80s stuff was starting to get a little gritty,
Mm.
but that one takes it just over the top.
I let him borrow Death in the Family
Pretty good.
and Year One.
Oh, Year One is quite good.
Yeah.
More of
so-
an influence on the Nolan movies than this
Yes.
one,
Yes. But I just wanted him to see that stark contrast to the Adam West and where they were heading. Like what they were trying to get away from the West, Adam West stuff, but they were trying to, put live action versions of the 80s stuff on screen.
though. I do love that Adam West stuff, though. Man, it's so good.
So, Jack. You already started talking about how good he was.
Yeah, I liked him. Let's start from the beginning with Jack. The foreshadowing was there. Like he's, wearing a purple suit.
Got the playing
he's
cards.
playing with the cards.
Mhm.
Yep. He's got the Joker with the. Well, I guess maybe did all the cards have a hole in it?
I think so. Yeah,
Probably
he must have
because
stolen
of-
from a casino.
Yeah, it's probably a casino deck. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, he had the card. He had the purple suit. You could
I
tell.
liked how he wasn't goofy at first. I like that.
Yeah, me
It
too.
was a definite change for him.
Me too. And then obviously, we already talked about the backstory, how he got that way with the plastic surgery and everything. The reveal, though.
Mm.
When-
Yes, sir.
Oh my God,
For a woman.
I had a large boner when he was revealed.
Yeah.
That was a great scene.
I'm going to tell you, the shot they use where he kind of fades in from the darkness,
Yes.
there's a very similar scene in a movie that Travis and I are both fans of, where a white face kind of fades in from a
Yeah.
shadowy darkness. I think you're going to like that movie too.
And I felt like the Joker was in the darkness for a long time. Like they really made you wait
Mm-hmm.
to see
Mhm.
his face.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
and-
whole surgery stuff, everything was like done from behind.
Yes.
But when he breaks the mirror and he just starts laughing, like
Yep.
I'm just like, oh man, we're in for it.
And then when he actually, he gets out of the elevator or whatever, and he's in the darkness. He's just in the darkness for so long.
Mhm.
It's like I want to see.
Yeah, they
his
have what,
face.
like a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah, I'm
Such
like I
a
want to see his
tease.
face.
It's a
But-
tease. It's so good.
Yeah, it was good.
The Joker.
It was really good.
As you can see,
Although
I'm
one
a
of
lot
the
happier.
one of the things that one of the things I think they got wrong, which I know that this is supposed to be like a one-off movie, and Batman kills in this movie, whatever. But I thought that and I know that I'm not supposed to compare these to the newer movies, but the dynamic between Batman, who has his rules
Mhm.
and won't kill anybody, and the Joker, who just keeps coming back.
Right.
And like that dynamic between the two characters is just not there.
No, but that was my big problem too. Because
Yeah.
it's like there's
It would have been so good though if it was.
because even in the history, like in the Dark Knight, they establish that so clearly that you're the yin to my yang.
yes,
I don't exist without you,
yes,
and you don't exist without me.
Yes,
And they did that just in that one scene. That's all they needed was one scene where they tried to do it on the top of the bell tower,
mm-hmm.
but it never got to that point where you realize we can do this forever.
But
Kind of thing.
okay, now guys, I do have to contextualize my own perspective. I was like 4 or 5 when this movie came to home video,
Mm-hmm.
and my I had a little surgery, had a little hernia. Thank you, genetics. Anyway, I was laid up on the couch, and so as a surgery present, my parents bought me this VHS. So I watched it, 20 times as a 4 and 5-year-old, like just conked out on the couch. So my entire perspective on the character is built from this movie out rather than from the comics in or from the 60s show or from the Nolan movies. So I've got a skewed perspective, and I'm aware of my bias. But let me ask you guys a question. Does this Batman not kill? And does this Batman have rules? Or do you assume that he has rules because of the comic book and the Nolan movies?
It's never established in the movie.
And here's the
Right.
thing. They know when they're making this movie that they can't afford Jack Nicholson twice.
Right.
You're not going to recast the Joker. right? I mean, you're not going to
Right.
have in Batman Returns. You're not going to have stand-in, guy with stunt Jack Nicholson back of his head in Arkham. Like, they're not going to do that in the early 90s, and so you got to kill him. You just have to.
Yeah. See, I guess even when I was that young, because I wasn't 5, but I was maybe 14 when I saw it. As soon as the cartoon came out, it made me very angry about the ending of this movie. Because I realized when this movie happened before the cartoon, I was like, oh man, they killed him. They can't bring him back. That's what I was thinking as a 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the cartoon, I was like, all they had to do was put him in Arkham.
Yeah.
And if you put him in Arkham, he's always there. That arsenal of villains are always in that facility.
Yeah.
So from the cartoon, I realized how easy it is to end the story without killing the character.
Well, and
Yeah.
then in the Nolan in Dark Knight, they make it a point to like have him suspended over a large drop at the end of the movie, so they set up the same expectation and then just pay it off with, oh, we're not going to kill him. We'll do this forever, and then some stuff happened
Right.
and they couldn't do it forever. But in
Sucks.
real life, yeah.
Well, I was mad when they killed Two-Face. I was like,
Oh, they have to
he's
kill Two-Face,
such an amazing character.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We're talking about the Tommy Lee Jones one, right? He's so good. So good as freaking Tommy Lee Jones. So good in everything else, like legitimately good. Even his crappy like B-movie 70s stuff.
The only
He's
time
always
he
so
was good
good.
as Two-Face was when the very beginning, when he's inside and he's talking to the police officer that he has chained up or whatever. It's the only time that he's actually doing good character study and laying it down. And then the rest of the movie is just him campy and running around screaming.
It's
But-
like they were like, hey, that thing you did in Under Siege, do that but double.
Yeah.
Because there's two faces, so you got to do it double.
But that first scene where you're introduced to him, I was buying that. I was fine with that. Because he definitely was talking from out both sides of his face in two different total personalities, and I was all for it. But then the rest of it was like, it was a competition of who was going to be more goofy. I don't know if you saw that, but it's watchable.
I didn't see it.
It's way more watchable than Batman and Robin. Don't even bother. But Forever is watchable, but it's not this. And it's definitely not
good.
Nolan. It's not
It's
good, but
it's
it's
a little
watchable.
like groomy in a lot of ways. It's got some weird gay grooming.
I think I've seen a few scenes from that
Outtakes,
movie.
right? Or yeah.
I've seen that movie, and that's what I think I was thinking this movie was going to be.
Okay.
Did you see the Kung Fu laundry part?
In which one?
Batman Forever.
No, I don't.
Robin dries his laundry by doing karate with it. Also, at one point, he wants to leave, and he's supposed to be like a teenage boy, and
But he's like
Bruce
30.
Wayne is like, hey, do you want to stay longer? I've got cool cars you can drive. Also, I made sandwiches. I'm like, ew, this movie is grooming. They are grooming Robin. Get him out of there.
Batman played by Epstein.
Oh, jeez.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have they done to your Robins? Hey, so guys, but I'm serious. We're talking about Batman's rules. Like, this dude has missile launchers on his airplane, and he shoots them at a dude and somehow misses. But that
Mhm.
part is just confusing. But, like, he's perfectly willing to kill. This is
Yes.
killing Batman. The only reason he doesn't kill those first two guys is because he needs the retweets,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Like, this is just not Batman of the comics. This is Tim Burton's Batman.
This is Burton's Batman. Yep.
And the thing is, it's not, you're looking for a yin and yang between him and Joker, but that's not the relationship. This is like a climb, like a ragged climb up a peak, right? Like these two are racing to the top of the mountain, locked together until they get to the top by their own decisions in the past. But
Mhm.
I mean, this is not a circular relationship. Somebody is going to die, and it's just going to have to come down to who the best man is.
It's such a great scene, though. That
So
ending.
good.
scene.
Yeah.
The whole movie.
I love that scene.
It's just
Yeah.
the whole thing.
And apparently they were writing that scene as they were filming. That climactic scene was not in the original script.
They didn't have
Wow.
the Vicky Vale Beach fake out in the script.
No.
Hmm.
She wasn't even in the scene.
Why does she? That part troubles me a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't want to sexualize Vicky Vale.
No.
Hey, so you guys want to hear a funny thing?
Sure.
Again, I was 4 years old when I saw this. I had no idea who Kim Basinger was.
Mm.
Fast forward to the early 2000s. I'm in college, and Netflix is a thing, so I'm just renting everything I can, and I happen across 9.5 Weeks. And let me tell you,
Showing.
it was not a showing. It was like Vicky.
Oh my
Like,
God.
what have they done to Vicky? Like, it's weird because she's been in there so long as Vicky Vale in my like kid brain. Like, kid brain could not like let go of Vicky Vale long enough for adult brain to be like, oh, this movie's amazing. And Mickey Rourke has really made some bad choices since then, face wise. But sorry, Mickey. But yeah, 9.5 Weeks. That was jarring. Now I've come around to the fact that she's an actress and not just a single character in a single movie.
Right.
But it took a while to like see her as a person, not just as a character in a movie.
So what are you feeling about Tim Burton's vision of Batman? Did you
It's different.
Okay.
It's not better or worse. Actually, I mean, if you ask me which I prefer, it's not this. He's not my favorite Batman. Of the ones I've seen, but it works.
What I love about the Burton Batman is the environment, the city, like it's so Burton-esque, especially that scene where after Batman gets Vale and they're in the car after he's like, you weigh a little bit more than 108,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get in the car and they drive through the woods with
Yes.
that amazing,
like I said,
crescendo building Elfman song. Like, it just, that car, that drive, the woods, like, it was just perfect.
I said I love that Batmobile.
Yeah, just, and then the cave.
And then they go right into the side of the mountain, and she's like, and then they're in the Batcave.
The cave.
Have you ever seen, George, have you ever seen any of the works of Fritz Lang? Are you familiar with him? German filmmaker from the 20s.
For real?
Okay.
You might be, and you just don't know.
Yeah, I might be.
You are if you've seen this movie, is what I would say. There's a movie called Metropolis. It's one of the first great like sci-fi special effects extravaganza movies. It's silent and just amazing. But the design is very German expressionist, very tall buildings, high angles, sharp edges, like all the stuff you see in Burton's Gotham City is Metropolis. Also, Fritz Lang did M, which is like the first great murder mystery, like the one that still today is like a watchable scary movie. He did Ministry of Fear, which later went on to inspire a lot of Dario Argento stuff, which you guys know I love my Italian Jolly. So while you're looking at this as a Burton, I would say that this is more Burton channeling Fritz Lang while also trying to stay within like the producer's vision for the character. And the reason that's an important distinction is because a couple of years later they made Batman Returns, which, George, if this is a Batman movie directed by Tim Burton, Batman Returns is a Tim Burton movie that just happens to feature Batman.
Okay.
It's true. He had a lot more control in the second one.
Some of the dialogue is fantastic in Batman Returns. Like sometimes, if I'm in the right mood, some of the exchanges between Batman and Catwoman are like the best.
Oh yeah, they're the best scenes.
They're so snappy, and they just hit on the right points, and the acting is right on key. But man, I don't know. You should watch it. It's great. You'll love it.
No, it's watchable. Again,
it's watchable. It's just, oh man, I'm not a Tim Burton fan though. Like I love Beetlejuice, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and this, and then that's about it. I get off the train.
Yeah.
And that's about a Big Fish. Isn't that Tim Burton? That was a good one, but that's different, kind of.
I'm just trying to think of things that make this totally different than Nolan's world, because like you said, Nolan's world is kind of realistic. This is not realistic. Like it's very over dramatized. It's very theatrical.
Reminds me of a comic book.
Yeah, it's very, very theatrical.
How about
Yeah.
the TV news throughout the thing?
Oh, one of my notes was like, how many TVs does the Joker have? He likes to destroy them, right? Like every time he sees something he doesn't like on TV, destroys his TV.
He creates apparatuses just to punch TVs out.
Yeah. No, but yeah, you were talking about the anchors, Dan. Like they just stop showering because there could be poison in their soap, I guess. Is that what's going on there?
Well,
Yeah,
there was a
basically-
mixture of everything they were wearing.
They don't know what it is that's killing them, so they just have to drop all the cosmetics.
Right.
It's just a fun. It's a fun amount of detail that you don't normally expect from a comic book movie.
Yeah, I did
but-
notice that. I thought it was funny.
His Joker commercial when he hijacks the air
Yeah.
is just amazing. Kicking through the shopping mall. New and
Mhm.
improved Joker products.
Love
He's
that
been
Joker.
Brand X. Like,
Yeah, it was
Did
a
you
little
guys
over the
catch-
top.
I'm sure you've seen this, Travis, but George, on your first watch, did you catch his looking at CIA files early in the movie? One of
No.
his like folders is like a CIA neurotoxin report. It's where they're building this Joker gas from like existing nerve gas
No.
and just making it fun colors so that it'll be purple or whatever
I
colors
didn't-
they're using.
I didn't notice that.
So that's it's oddly grounded for a movie that involves, a Prince soundtrack, a giant parade full of gas balloons, an airplane that doesn't have any sharp edges except for like all these things that are just kind of over the top, but also like the Joker's a horny mob boss who gets really into nerve gas at one point. Like it's a weird dichotomy. Some of it sounds like it would fit better in the Nolan verse.
A horny Joker. That's
Dude,
pretty
this
funny.
Joker is horny.
Yeah.
This guy is thirsty. He is out for ladies. Do you think that was an intentional choice coming off of Cesar Romero's Joker?
I don't
Do you
know.
think they were like, hey, Cesar Romero, great Joker, great laugh, great mustache under the makeup, but he's not really into just chasing tail all the time. And it's the 80s, and we're all on coke because of the 80s. And so now we've got to be coked up lady skirt chasing billionaire philanthropist. Like,
Yeah, I
what?
didn't like the fact that was his motive.
So horny.
Like that to me, it kind of takes away from the Joker, because that's why I love the Ledger Joker so much, is that it's the true chaos, and his whole character is driven by chaos.
Yeah, he loves the chaos.
He thrives off it. He creates chaos so he can be more chaotic, and there's not a sane thought in his head. And this Joker is, like you said, he's a little bit more driven by getting laid and making money, but not money to burn. Just like and make art. He wants to make art.
Yeah, so
Till
I mean, in a
people
lot of
die.
ways, he is also chaotic, right? He probably falls on the same chaotic evil scale as the Ledger Joker. But, I mean, okay, so you could argue that he's actually more chaotic than Ledger because he's so much less aware of his own chaotic, like, goals. Like, he's not so much a goal-driven dude as much as he is just, like... I mean, you know who he reminds me of. I mean, he paints his face orange to go on TV. He's a former mafioso. He's a clinical psychopath. He bribes the blue-collar workers and then gathers them together and gets them all killed. Plus, he's into petty personal attacks on his rival. He's all about that false machismo. He's not physically tough. Heck, he even travels by a green helicopter. He's Biff from 85B. I don't think I would have had fun in the 80s, guys. I'm kind of glad I was just a little kid.
Well, VCRs cost like $400, so that was not. That's the big joke in Wedding Singer. It's like, I just got this VCR. It's like $800.
But now you have the power to capture TV and not let it go.
I have the very first DVD player. It cost me $3,000. So, my favorite part of this movie is Danny Elfman, the composer of some of the greatest music in most of my favorite movies. Like when I hear a Danny Elfman song, I know exactly that it is a Danny Elfman song, I know I can just hear little pieces and I already know who it is. Like, his music to me is more of a character in this movie than some of the characters. It just sets the tone from the very beginning. That 19-minute long credit scroll around the symbol.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I could have listened to it for another 20 minutes.
Maybe his music fits the movie so well. Maybe that's the reason why I didn't even notice to say anything about it.
Really?
Yeah.
To me,
I should, because I normally always, notice the music.
right.
This time I kind of didn't, but that might be a compliment, because he was, using his music to, build whatever suspense or whatever,
Yeah.
and I didn't even realize that that's what it was. That was the reason I was.
Well, the music
feeling
that
that
sticks
way.
out like a sore thumb is the Prince music, because it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then
Yeah.
like, that's totally opposite of the actual score of this film. But yeah, go back.
I have to listen. Yeah, I have to listen to it again.
To me, I put the DVD in just to play that scene where he drives the car through the woods.
Oh,
I
yeah.
will listen to that. I have the CD, so I don't have to put the DVD in anymore. I actually have the CD of Danny Elfman's music, but that scene I would watch on a loop.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that scene for me was one of my favorite scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I probably didn't realize it when I was watching it, that the music added so much
Oh, yeah.
to it.
Yep. Definitely worth
Yeah.
looking at that again.
I bought surround sound just so I could watch that scene.
And I'm sure that you didn't catch it the first time because it's such a small detail, but at the end, right? And you get the triumphant chords of this big
Yeah.
final score. And right at the end, they hit like 2 or 3 bells.
Bells. Yep.
And the bells, just for me, as now a person who's seen the movie a million times, that's like my moment. I'm just like, the bells. Yes. It's so little. Like my kids, these poor kids, I'm putting them through so much. I'm like, guys, you got to hear the bells. And they're like, what? Okay. And they hear them. They're like, wait, what did we hear? I'm like, the dings, the ding, ding. And they're like, we don't care. But George will care because George is a musician. So George will be all about them bells.
The bells. Well, yeah, that ending scene, it's as iconic as Christopher Reeve orbiting the Earth at the end of Superman. Like, just to see, and then he waves at the camera and then flies away. He gives you that smirk. And it's like, you just know everything's okay. And to me, Bruce Wayne, Batman, comes into his, his zone, and he gives them the signal. Like, when he says, we have a signal, and they punch it on, you're like, oh, yeah. And then they do that whole crescendo of music, and then they just kind of go up through the buildings and then the scaffolding and whatever, and they finally get to the top, and then the light comes on, and then, like you said, the bells. Like, I could watch that scene 35 times in a row. Just sit there, and Jen would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. I love the bells.
Hand check. Hey, so one thing that I love about this movie, and they do it again in Batman Begins, and I don't know if you caught it there either, so I'm going to make you listen to me talk for a second. Check this out. When the movie ends, you now have established Batman, established Commissioner Gordon, and a bat signal. All you're missing is Robin, and you get yourself back to the old TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it is just to bring the audience home to like, yeah, the character is now full, like complete, like everything I need from the comics and the old TV show I've got now because I have the bat signal and a Batman and Commissioner Gordon. Joker's a puddle, but other than that, everything you need to like feel like it's a Batman movie. But then cut ahead to Batman Begins. Now that's actually a movie that they didn't know if they were doing a sequel.
Right.
And where does it end? Batman, Commissioner Gordon, established Joker. To where it almost makes it like a soft prequel to this movie, which I thought, oh, that's so good. Like, you'd have to make some jumps to get from the end of Begins to this Batman, but they set it up in a way that you can fudge it and get there, just in case they don't make another movie, and they pay a little bit of homage, and they set it up just enough that, yeah, it fits right in. It's a good touch, man.
When he flips that card over, he's like, take this guy, for instance, failed actor, double murder, blah, 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 leaves a calling card. When he flipped that bag over and it was a Joker card, the people in the theater just lost their shit. Like, they were just like, oh, man, like, we're getting there already.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait 5 movies. But, yeah, it that's the first thing that popped in my head was it almost felt like a prequel to the Nicholson. Absolutely. So,
I didn't feel that way. Because I had never seen this movie.
You'd never seen it, right?
Again, George?
Now he's seen it.
Now I've seen it. No, I'm saying when I watched Begins, I didn't feel that way because I had never seen this movie.
And you know what's funny? The executives played with what you're talking about, Dan, when they did the first or second trailer for Batman Forever. I think it was the first trailer. You can go on YouTube and find it. They used the Danny Elfman finale music in the trailer, and when they hit those bells, they show Robin standing in his full costume, like that he finally received in the movie. Like they build it up to the point where you're like, oh my god, this is going to be phenomenal. And then when you watch the movie, you're like, damn.
Yeah, that's a letdown.
It was a letdown. But they used the Danny Elfman music.
They love those bells. Now, George, I don't know if you ever saw like Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, any of the recent DC movies.
I did not see Batman versus Superman.
Did you see Justice League?
No.
So when they had their whole big, do you know the backstory on the Justice League collapse and rebuild?
The movie or the
movie,
characters? Yeah,
the
movie.
filming of the movie. Basically, they had a director. He was the same guy as Batman v Superman, and then the studio didn't like the direction he was heading, and they put a lot of pressure on him. And then he had a family tragedy and just said, "Okay, screw it, I'm out." And so he left, and they had Joss Whedon, the guy who did Avengers, come in and like cartoon it up a little bit, and he redid a bunch of the stuff. And a lot of his decisions were terrible, and that movie is garbage in its current form, although the original director's coming back with his vision, and it probably will still suck, but at least it's not as bad as the last one. Anyway, it's amazing that we're even going to get that. The internet made that happen. The internet is crazy. Here's the thing that I want to point out, though. They brought Danny Elfman back, and they're like, Danny Elfman's coming back. He's going to score Batman. You're going to get the Batman score, and you're going to love it. And I was like, ooh, I can't wait for this Batman score. It's going to be amazing. Dude, he hits maybe 3 chords of the original Batman score once in the entire movie, just to make me feel it and then rip it away.
He did that in what movie?
In
Which
Justice
one?
League, Batman
Really?
pops up on the Gotham police headquarters,
Okay.
and you hear dun dun dun, and then it cuts to something else, and they never do it again. And I'm just like, you've got Danny Elfman, you have the music, and you failed me.
Yeah, they blew it.
Losers.
So you just pop in Sam Raimi's Batman or Spider-Man, and you get a great Danny Elfman score for Spider-Man as well.
I mean, it's the Batman score again. That's why it's so good.
Exactly.
I love Danny Elfman for making the Batman score, but he didn't need to do it again in Spider-Man.
He changed it a little bit. If I heard them both together, I'd be able to tell them apart pretty easily.
No, you could, because you'd be like, oh, that one sounds complete and amazing. That must be Batman. Oh, that one's lacking a little something. That's the Spider-Man one.
Okay.
Who knew
fair
I
enough.
had such hot takes on Danny Elfman?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you sound very angry about that.
Dude, but Prince, like,
were you
let's
not a Oingo Boingo fan? What happened?
too young. Hey, how about Prince, though? I mean, we've already talked about it, but, like, dude, Prince was rocking in this movie.
I remember when the video came out. That was huge.
Oh, my gosh. The music videos from this movie, George, get on YouTube as soon as we're done and watch the music videos. They're insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to do that.
Bat dance.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
It's
He's
so
good stuff, man.
crazy. Oh, man. They let him be Prince. Like, you got to give him
Yeah,
credit.
they did not give a shit.
In
they didn't give one
1988 and 89, Prince was still edgy, and Prince didn't give 2 shits about what they were going to do, and they let him be himself. Like, you don't get that in a Hollywood movie these days.
You guys weren't really around to remember this. The phenomenon. You can actually go on YouTube and find old, like, 1989 Entertainment Tonight's and like newscasts when this movie came out. The phenomenon that happened between Prince and the T-shirts and like the posters and like the merchandise, it was ridiculous. It was like the Beatles.
Batmania, man.
Batmania, they call it. Like everybody was. Prince was on the top of the world. He was bigger than Elvis. It was crazy. And it's
I only know about it because when I was a kid, say like 94-ish, I got a VHS tape that had been produced. It was like in the bargain bin. It had been produced between the original and just before the announcement of Batman Returns. And so it cuts off with this like final cliffhanger of like, maybe we won't have to wait 30 years for another Batman movie. But it doesn't know for sure that we won't because it hasn't been announced yet. But it goes through the entire history back through like even the early influences on the comics, you know? So it's like showing you clips from The Man Who Laughed so you can see how creepy they were before they ripped that off for the Joker back in the 30s. So yes, I as a small child, I watched a documentary on the lead up to this movie and the marketing campaign probably 10 times just because I was a kid and obsessed.
Word.
Which is different than being a grown-up and obsessed.
I was going to say that. Now you're just a grown-up and obsessed.
As a kid, I didn't have any money.
Right.
And now I have 3 kids and no money, and I wish I had no kids and 3 money, but what can you do?
Nah, you don't wish that.
No, I don't. No, who else would I talk to about Batman movies all day if I didn't have these kids?
Gotta raise them right. Gotta raise them right.
Gotta raise them. Gotta raise them. I mean, you can't not raise them. That's illegal. So
some people don't.
Well, that's how you get the supervillains, I think.
It might be illegal. I'm not sure if it's enforced, though. That's fine.
That's funny. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I did.
Are you going to finish the 66 Batman, George?
It's probably going to leave with me
They
this
have
evening.
a fist fight on a submarine.
This happens.
I might actually.
You should probably watch.
Yeah,
I mean, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
It's true.
I mean, that's just the facts.
It's a shame you don't have a frame of reference even from the TV show for the movie. Like,
I do have a little. I know that the TV show was like
cliffhanger upon cliffhanger.
Yeah, and the things that happen are like kind of
campy,
outlandish, and whatever.
Tilted cameras and scaling buildings from just walking across the floor
and shark repellent.
So bad.
Right around the time they made the Batman TV show, there was an Italian giallo made called Death Laid an Egg. And it's the only one that I can think of that is actually like a camp giallo. And so it's like this murder mystery thing, and it has a lot of the tropes of the others, but it's so insane in its zany camp comedy, but it plays it completely straight, right? There's no wink at the camera. So at one point, it cuts to like a board meeting for like an advertising company. And the ad execs are talking about how we're going to bring chicken back to the dinner table. And they're like marketing chicken back to Italian households because chicken needs to be back in the households. And the work is all on you and as the audience to look at this thing and be like, this movie is making fun of me for thinking this is a real movie.
It's kind of like RoboCop.
Yeah,
it's exactly. It's like a sillier version of RoboCop, if you can imagine.
Yeah,
I didn't even grow up with it, so I don't have any kind of allegiance towards it. But I still, it's like a train wreck. Sometimes you just can't look away.
Dude, I grew up in a house we had no cable. My dad was a cop. My mom was a stay-at-home. So I mean, we had very little in the way of an entertainment budget. But my uncle had cable and would tape the old show off of the old Family Channel. And so, I mean, I've seen, especially the first season ones that were played on repeat, a lot.
So he was like your original enabler.
Yes. Yeah, when he found out I liked that movie, he was like, oh, I've seen the TV show. You should probably have a tape of these that I just made, Actually, that kind of led me down a rabbit hole because he taped me the movie off of Family Channel, I think, and it was on at night. And so there, on my old tape, there's a couple of commercials for Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
On the same tape as my Batman show.
Well, you owe him big time.
Oh, man.
For who you are.
he's helped a lot. Thanks, Uncle Mike.
Wow.
Part 8.
Dude, part 8 actually part 8 ended up being the first one I saw when my
Really?
parents finally relented and said, "Okay, you can watch one, but it has to be taped off USA and not off of HBO." So my buddy taped part 8 and brought it over and we watched it. And I thought it's so amazing. I had to see the rest.
I think part 3 might have been part 2 was my first one.
God, 2 is so good. By the way,
Mm.
George, you got to watch all these movies someday. Part 2. I mean,
That's
you know, a
the
lot
goal.
of people, you hear so many people talk about like the Godfather movies. Oh, yeah, part 1, part 2. Oh, yeah, part 1, part 2. No, dude, it's all about the Jason movies. Part 2, part 4, part 5, part 6, sometimes 7, 8 if you're drunk, I'm told.
Sometimes 7. I
hear
love
a lot about Rocky as far as like Rocky this, Rocky that, 1, 2, 5, 7. don't know
I
how
look
many
at
Rocky
Jason
are.
movies and Rocky, I look at them as like families. They're all kind of different, but they all have the thing that you love most about them, and you love them for what they are, and you can't really compare them. You know, part 3 is good for this reason, bad for this reason. You know, part 4 is good for this reason, bad for this reason. So they all have their strengths and weaknesses. So I just love them all for different reasons. They're like having 8, 9 children. You love them all just for different reasons. But I like 7, so I don't know what you're talking about.
7 is fun to watch with people, but the first half hour is such a slog. If you're watching it by yourself, it's one of those movies like you'll go in thinking, "Oh, I remember this movie being awesome," and 5 minutes in, you're looking at your phone like, I wonder what the next baseball game is going to be. Oh, this movie's still on. I'll keep watching.
Not me.
Man,
I just go to the scene selections.
Dan's problem is that all of the people that he knows, he's already seen all the Jason movies with. He has no one else to drag into it with him.
that's what
It's
you're
true.
here for, George.
Well, see, I want to start watching them again because I got stuck in a rabbit hole on YouTube for watching people go to set, like actual sets, like they go and they visit the sets. So I've been watching guys go to like the set for part 3 and part 4 and I'm like, oh my god,
The now and then videos you're talking about?
yeah, and I'm just like, I gotta watch this movie again because there it is. That's the fireplace. Oh, that's the cabin. Oh, there's the barn.
Yeah, we started playing that Friday the 13th game. I mean, okay, I kickstarted it and have been playing it since the day it launched, and I've been through a lot, guys. There were some real server issues early on, but now it rocks, and nobody plays it anymore, so it sucks. But anyway, that game paid such great homage to the best moments, at least the best design moments of the first couple. And so, yeah, every time now I watch the movie, I have the warm feelings for the last time I was chasing a poor injured camp counselor through Higgins Haven. You know, it's a disease. But I can't wait to give it to you, George.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what to say.
Thank you. What are you, Garth?
Yeah, I'm like,
Thank you.
I'm just along for the ride.
Well, what do we got for next week?
I'm going to let you tell him because he can hit you if he doesn't like the choice. He can't hit me. I'm remote.
All right. George, have you ever seen Blues Brothers?
Kind of.
You kind of seen it.
Kind of.
I kind of saw it.
Is that one of those drunk movies?
Yeah.
Well, now you're going to see it stone cold sober.
No promises.
Breathalyzer, engage.
You get a really amazing take on Carrie Fisher in that movie.
George, are you a fan of Booker T and the MGs?
The only Booker T he knows is Booker T from wrestling.
WCW Booker T or whatever it is.
But what about so do you know who
Five-time champion.
Do you know Steve Cropper, the guitar player for the Booker T and the MGs? What about Duck Dunn?
Not familiar.
Ooh, you're gonna be familiar by the end of this. Oh,
Okay.
I'm excited. See, okay, now I'm excited again. I love that
Okay.
movie, but now I'm extra excited.
If anything, it's up your alley.
Okay.
So
Like way up there.
yeah, it's in there. It's like it's up there, like
It's pretty deep.
It's deep. It's like
It's in there like swimwear.
it's like watch deep.
You're gonna have to call a doctor to pull it out again. Hey George, have you ever
Yes.
seen Batman 1989?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Lovingly known as Burton's Batman.
Yes.
All right, guys, hit the
Nice.
bells. We did it. Ding, ding.